Welcome back to the Unexplained and the Unexplainable. I'm D. He is B, the person sitting next to me. Yes.
Hello, D.
You don't see any of this. You don't see anything, but
I'll just have to take our word for
it. Today it is the it's the special. I'm gonna tell you how today is gonna go because this is the season finale. So after this episode, we're gonna put up a combination, a thing of every single episode we made. And so how today's going to work is we're going to talk about the Watch Wolf a little bit, the criminal case of a crazy dude that stalked a family. And then we're going to talk, then me and B have made our own SCPs. What is your SCP's designation?
Oh, you'll have to find out.
My SCP designation is SCP -1. But before we do that, we're going to have to go into the Watch Wolf case. And for all of this, I'm crediting BuzzFeed Unsolved, Wikipedia, Ryan Bagala, Brent Bennett, and Shane Madej. So, let's get into it. In June 2014, Maria and Derek Broaddus were getting ready to move into 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. With their 3 children, 657 Boulevard was considered the Broaddus' dream home due to the proximity to Maria's childhood home, a spacious layout, and the location is in the 30th safest city in the USA. Yes? Yeah. 3 days after completing the sale, a letter arrived in the mailbox addressed to the new owner in thick letters. The letter was typed, Dearest new neighbor of 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with the force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched the house in the 1990s. It is now my time, 1960s. Sorry.
Huh. Weird. What a weird letter to get.
Yeah, just like, wow.
What else did it say?
Well, I'm gonna go to that. God. Who am I? There are hundreds of cars that drive by 657. Why did I go British? God. I'm trying to get this guy like my own character form. I'm just gonna go back to normal letters. There are Okay, I'm just gonna start over. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows in 657 Boulevard, and all of the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I'm one. You have children. I have seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. Do you need to fill the house with young blood? I requested. Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family, or is it agreed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. God, this guy's a creep.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy. I think,
Yeah.
I can see why they would be unsettled by getting a creepy letter like that from some random weirdo.
Okay, so I mean, it's pretty easy to know which car he's probably in. Just look at all the white vans with free candy painted on the side of them. Yeah. Maybe I am in one.
That would be a tell. I think they call that.
Yeah, like it'd just be like a normal car with like 2 children in the back, and like the strong 2 children. Then behind her would just be like a car, and like blood red, just like saying free candy on the side of a white van. Just like knocking on the back of its scratch marks, and just inside, just a dude with like full like a mask on, and like just like staring at the house like a camera. Maybe I am in. Just yelling out the window. Maybe I am in one.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty good sign that was your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened after they got that the letter?
After receiving the letter, the Broaddus family reached out to the previous owners of the house. A couple named John and Andrea Woods, the Woods family, told the Broaddus family that they had received one letter from the Watcher in 23 years they had lived at 657 Boulevard. But since it had happened more day. Oh Jesus! I'm sorry. I'm sorry for stumbling over this. But okay. Johnny received one letter from the Watcher in 23 years they had lived at 607 Boulevard. Since that happened more days before the Woods family moved out of the house. The letter was discarded without much concern. God, sorry for butchering everything here. I just cannot English. After talking to the Woods family, the two families went to the police and disclosed the happenings to the police. The police instructed them to keep quiet about the Watcher, as the neighbors were now all suspects. Were now deemed suspects. God. 2 weeks later, while the Broadduses had still not moved in, a second letter arrived. The letter included information like their surname, the children's birth order, and the children's nicknames. It also referenced seeing the daughter painting in an enclosed porch space, asking is she the artist in the family. The letter continued to say it had been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all of the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they fall asleep in the attic? No. Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street, as all know as soon as you move in? It will help me know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. After receiving this letter, Maria and Derek stopped bringing the children to the house, halting their plans to move in, causing a third letter that read 657 Boulevard. Read, where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you. Now I'm gonna have B read the law part of the section, which is basically the Broadduses family not being able to do stuff that known people would do because of strange rules that happen. But before we go into that, I'm just gonna say something quick.
Okay.
I think maybe the Watcher could be the people that own the old house, because he only got one letter, and that was the time that that guy's dad was watching the house, and dads are usually more responsible than children, so why would they not get a letter? So I think it's the old family, the family that lived in the house.
I don't know.
Or just could be not them, because he said it had been a couple years since being blood with the halls. So maybe they weren't just like sending them letters because they didn't have children. Apparently this guy seems to be obsessed with children, kind of like Wacko from the Bad Batch, always saying, I like this kid.
Could be. I mean, that's an easy way to scare somebody who has children, is to make some sort of threat against their children.
Being a giant man saying, I like this kid. I mean, are we talking about Watcher or Wacko?
We're talking about the Watcher here, so...
Each have W.
You know, because no one else knows what you're talking about. You didn't introduce it, but...
I said the Bad Batch. If you haven't watched just watch the Bad Batch and you'll understand people.
So, on the law end of things here, it looks like the Broadduses. Now, this is just kind of based on some research I did down at the courthouse and with a few interviews.
We all know you have your own article.
Things like that.
He actually does have his own article.
So, the family that moved into this house and started getting these threatening letters, the Broadduses, they tried to sue the family that they purchased this home from for not disclosing that they were getting these threatening letters, when really that family that sold the house to them had only received one letter like this, and it was right before they were moving out.
It's still a Stephen something.
At least as far as we know, and as far as anyone was able to prove. So based on that, the judge just threw out the case, probably just dismissed it, saying that there was no evidence that this family had hid the letter from them, or that it was really even part of the transaction, which makes sense.
Actually, they threw the letter in a trash can, so there's no proof of them actually receiving a letter.
Well, when you think about it, though, I mean, that's not exactly fraud or anything. They hadn't received a letter like that until after they had already sold the house, it sounds like. So it's not something that you could say, well, you knew about this and then you sold us the house anyway. It sounds like maybe it happened after.
No, it said that it was a couple of days before they sold the house.
And the family, the Broadduses, who were getting these weirdo letters, tried to sell the house to a developer so they could split it up and maybe make some, I guess maximize the use of the space there, but they weren't allowed to do that either because of, in a lot of communities and places they have a minimum size that your lot has to be. And it sounds like this one was too small to split up and be any more than just one lot with one house on it. And those kinds of rules are, in place to keep people from kind of crowding one lot with 2, maybe 3 houses, something like that. And what do you think about that? Do you think that they should be able to make laws like that? That if you own a piece of property, you can only build a house on it if you have, at least an acre devoted to it? Do you think that's a fair rule?
I think if you have a crazy person trying to freaking steal your children, then you should be able to really do whatever you want with that house.
So they weren't able.
That was a crazy person.
And maybe that's what they were banking on.
Maybe they thought hire a bunch of cops to just look at all the windows that can see 657 Boulevard. One of those guys with binoculars in them, and then they look at the driveway. And again, it's that weird. It can't be him. He's so nice. He has that really nice van with free candy painted on the side of it. He's just such a nice guy.
So it sounds like they weren't able to do much from a legal perspective here. They weren't able to sue the family that sold them the house.
Yeah, but
they weren't able to sell it to a developer, even though the board that approved those kind of things later on let another family do it.
Olio in 2018.
Yeah, that could be a little strange. I'm not sure why they would do that, but who knows why these boards operate.
No, later than that. It was later. Yeah, it was later than that. It was in 2017. I'm stupid.
Eventually, they sold the house. Right. We'll just skip right to the end here. The Broadduses were able to sell this house to somebody, but it looks like they sold it for quite a bit less than what they paid for it, which is not really what you want to do. You don't want to buy high and sell low, typically. This is a little financial lesson here in the middle of our 5th episode, a little bonus. You want to buy something and then have it grow in value. You don't want to buy something and have it, decrease by 25% and then sell it. You'll never make any money that way.
But you also don't want to, but you also probably are wanting to leave a house that a creepy guy is stalking you.
No, that I can see. Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's reasonable. So, were there any suspects that were ever identified here?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I boring you with my financial talk?
Yes. God.
Okay. So, what about suspects?
Yeah, we got this dude named the Gamer.
The Gamer. Now, wait a minute. You're a gamer.
Yeah, most people watching probably are gamers too. Okay, just so you guys kind of know this. In my room right now, I have one of my walls is just completely covered, and in poster movie posters for Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, because that's the only poster book that I have. And so I have all of those up there. And let me just tell you something. I find it very weird that there's only one poster with the Japanese Spider-Man in there, or Spider-Woman in there. There's a robot, but there's only one poster with an actual face in there.
Well, that's kind of how the posters are set up, right? There's only one poster of Spider-Pig and only one of Spider-Gwen.
No, I mean in all of the posters.
Oh.
Like, look at all the posters. See, there's like none of those, and like, I don't really get that because like, we need to represent Japanese people in Spider-Man art.
Huh. Okay, I feel like we got a little sidetracked there. Why don't you talk a little bit about the suspects?
Okay.
You were talking about the gamer.
Okay, so now, while investigating a crime with no fingerprints and no digital trail, and no way to place a suspect at the scene of the crime was difficult for the police, they managed to put together 3 suspects. A man nicknamed the Gamer, due to his penchant. Am I saying that correct?
Yes, you are.
Penchant for playing violent video games as a character called the Watcher. Michael Lanford is... Okay.
So...
Okay, so before we go on to the next suspect, there's no game where your character is named the Watcher. They may be confusing it with like the Witcher, because I know it's a game.
Could
because
be, or it could be the
knowledge of geekiness and
it could be
having my room be full of D&D and Spider-Man
well, hold on. Now, couldn't it be like that's his character name, like his gamer tag, or maybe it's an RPG type game where you have to give your character a name, like World of Warcraft or something, and you create a character and you name it. Maybe he named it the Watcher. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but...
Now, the Watcher is also a popular comic book character in Marvel Comics, and there's a new show that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus called What If. Have you ever seen the previews for What If?
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Isn't it Katie Parker?
Right. So one of the main parts of that series, What If, is it revolves around this, this sort of cosmic being known as the Watcher. And all he does is observe. He can never interfere. And, he's kind of a big guy with like a round, giant head and a robe. And he's called the Watcher.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So this gamer, a lot of gamers are also comic book people, right? I mean, am I right about that? So maybe he just named this character the Watcher.
I'm not a comic book person myself. I'm more of like a movie and TV show.
Yeah, you literally just talked about how your wall is covered in Spider-Man posters. You know that, right?
Yeah, but it's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, a movie.
Based on?
Dad, no.
Yeah, you don't want to see comic books, but that's the only answer,
okay,
right?
Okay. Only Miles Morales.
I rest my case.
Only Miles Morales, Peter Parker, and Gwen are actually in comics. I mean, Spider-Noir may be in there, but all I know is anime Spider-Man is not in there. There's no anime Spider-Man in the comics for all I know.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that the fact that, talking about the suspects here, the gamer, before we move on to the next one, it says in the article that one of the reasons why they thought maybe he was the Watcher is because of, playing as a character named the Watcher, but they went out of their way to mention that he plays violent video games. Do you think that the fact that someone might play a video game that has some action or some violence in it necessarily means that they might be a violent person or a bad person?
Okay, let me ask you a question. So for that, do I want to kill you?
Hopefully not.
No, I don't want to kill you. And if you look in all of my games, I play stuff like Rainbow Six and COD, and most games are like violent. Like so some kids probably play Star Wars Battlefront. Some kids probably play Star Wars games. Those games are violent, but most kids don't want to go up to you with a stick and try to beat you with it.
Good point, I think.
Yeah, like I don't want to grab like an AR-15 and kill someone. I don't. But like in the games, it's a game. You're doing it against enemy players. It's not real life. Like in VR, I don't wanna like grab a lightsaber, like a toy lightsaber, and just slap someone with it like I do in Vader Immortal.
Right.
And like I don't want to shoot someone with a model Star Wars blaster that shoots plasma, even though I play one of the new Star Wars games. So
I guess we could say that you
zero caliber on you.
You don't think that's a reasonable reason to suspect that somebody might be doing something creepy, like sending these letters or stalking these people.
Yeah. Well, one person made an argument against video games because this person ended up killing someone, and he played video games, but they never said what video game, and it ended out his favorite video game that he played all the time was Just Dance. So if anything, we should ban Just Dance.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe we should do that
Ban
for
it.
other reasons. So
Ban it.
So who else did they have as potential suspects for this creepy weirdo?
Okay, next we have Michael Langford for his tendency to literally watch his neighbors and the Brothers family themselves due to suspicions of Brothers' remorse and possibly movie deals. And the next one is the Brothers' family.
So, buyer's remorse. Let's talk about that.
Okay, one second. Okay, everyone stop. So,
There's only two people in here.
Michael Langford. Michael Langford was the only people that know that because he literally watches people, and the next suspect is the Brothers' family.
So we've got a neighbor here, I guess.
Yeah, we got a neighbor.
And it sounds like maybe there was a little bit more to it than just he watches his neighbors. It sounds like there was a conversation that this new family had with him at some point where he mentioned, a couple of things that maybe made sense in the context of those letters, that sort of thing. But it sounds like, the police did an investigation and even tried to set up sort of a sting with the guy, where they had the Broaddus's send this guy a letter saying, well, we're going to tear down the old house, to see if he would freak out or send a letter from, the watcher or something like that, and it didn't work. So either this guy is pretty smart and he realized that they were trying to smoke him out, or it just wasn't him. And it sounds like the cops decided that it wasn't him, which is good for him that he wasn't doing that.
Okay.
And they never charged him with anything. But it says they just dropped that investigation and really never explained to the Broadduses why they did it, which makes me think...
Could have been paid off.
Well, or the third suspect here that the cops have discussed makes me think
the Broaddus family, the people that got sent letters, was sending the letters. So
and that makes me wonder if maybe the police thought, well, this is our most likely explanation, and so we're going to drop the investigation of anyone else. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, sure, but now...
So why would they send themselves... Why would they send themselves letters?
Okay, do me a favor and stop talking so I can read and explain what you're asking me to.
I'm sorry for talking on a podcast.
God. Okay, so the next suspect is the Broaddus family themselves. Due to suspicion of buyer's remorse and possible movie deals, in October of 2016, a horror movie called The Watcher was released by Lifetime. Despite a case. Oh God, I'm so bad at reading. Despite a case and distance.
So
God, I'm so bad.
No, what you're trying to read there, and this is another legal term, and this is something here that not a lot of people know.
I'm not a law person.
But despite a cease and desist order from the Broadduses, and that just means they went to a judge and said, we want you to stop this. And for whatever reason, they probably thought it was maybe an invasion of privacy, or they were appropriating the rights to their story, and they were trying to get them to stop that movie from being released. So, and then it sounds like they did sell their story to Netflix, and I don't know if Netflix has made a movie based on this or not. Sounds like the movie that was made and showed by on the Lifetime channel, shown on the Lifetime channel, wasn't very good. I don't know. Was it a based on that story, or just inspired by this story? Was it real accurate?
No idea. What I saw like the wiki for it was not accurate at all. Like, jeez, okay. So basically, you explained everything else. You literally explained everything else I have here.
Yes.
And I already credited BuzzFeed fandom and my McGaw, Brent Bennett, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I already credited him. So now that the Watcher was done, let's talk about that.
Well, no, before we move on, let's talk about this theory that maybe
I just said let's talk about this.
So this theory that these people were sending themselves this letter doesn't make a lot of sense to me if the only motivation they have is the either buyer's remorse or that they wanted to try to inspire a movie deal. Because I mean, what are the odds that this would inspire a movie deal? I mean, it's creepy, it's a little weird, but these kind of things probably happen a lot, and they don't always get picked up by the media or become kind of a viral type deal. Sometimes they just, it's one story in a paper and that's it. No one ever thinks anything more about it. So I think if you were going to try to plan an elaborate situation like this and have it result in a movie deal, don't you think that'd be a pretty big risk?
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing, I don't think it could be done for another reason. The kids would have to be in on it. And kids would probably feel very guilty of doing that. And also, so...
That's a good point. Another thing, too, is when you get into some of these conspiracies, like, and I would consider that a conspiracy, that, these people were sending themselves these letters, unless they have some actual evidence of it.
I mean, they were like the 30th safest city in America. So.
Well, but getting back to the conspiracy part, and like you mentioned, well, the kids would have to be in on it, too. I guess it's possible the kids didn't know about it, but someone knows about it. And people are really bad at keeping secrets. And you would think after so much hype and attention and after so many years that if these people had staged all this, that it would have gotten out somewhere.
Okay, I forgot to mention that it actually was found that one letter was actually sent by the Broadduses themselves.
No, but that wasn't a watcher letter, right? That was a letter that they were sending to other people trying to get whoever the watcher was to leave them alone. Is that right, or was it? Did I misunderstand that?
I think they sent it to just other people. Found out to be the husband dude. Huh. That should be a superhero. Husband dude.
Now, if they wanted to get out of buying this house, that would have been kind of hard to do. It sounds like maybe they paid too much for this house. I mean, when they sold it for a lot less than they bought it for.
They sold it for I think just a bit over $1 million. They bought it for over $1 million. They sold it for just a bit under $1 million.
Still, this kind of a crazy scheme to concoct this whole stalker/watcher thing doesn't really sound like, to me, like it's something you would do just to try to get out of a real estate deal. Plus, there was a letter that showed up from the watcher before, just before they purchased the house. So, I mean, it's almost like saying, well, they did it because of buyer's remorse, and they started developing buyer's remorse before they actually did the buying. Not something that makes a lot of sense to me. What do you think?
Okay, buyer's remorse. Yeah, they haven't bought it yet. So how can they have buyer's remorse? They would have I haven't bought it yet remorse. But the letter was sent to the family before the Broadduses even approached them and said, "Hey, can we buy this house?"
Huh.
And they just threw the letter out because they never had a letter before. They never got a letter from this. They never had a letter from this person before, so they just threw out the letter. Because they weren't receiving letters. So I just think it's kind of weird they just tossed the letter out. It's like tossing out Amelia Earhart's bones. You know what I'm saying? It ain't cool to toss them out.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This is kind of a creepy thing, a little unsettling. It sounds like they never did solve it, so this is perfect for, the unexplained and the unexplainable, as no one has really ever explained what happened, it sounds like. And it doesn't sound like there's a really good explanation for it. It could just be a random crazy dude or someone trying to, sort of troll, this family. And there's maybe no reason they want to do it. Maybe, some men just want to watch the world burn, right?
They've been pranked by the prank patrol.
It's not a great prank, I tell you. It's not real lighthearted and funny.
J. Paul just walks in. You've been pranked. They're just crying.
All right, so
PTSD.
Is that everything we have on the Watcher? Are we ready to talk about inventing our own?
This should be everything we have on the Watcher. Now that we are approaching 29 minutes and 34 seconds. Yeah.
Okay. So it's our 5th episode. You said it was our season finale. I guess that means we don't have to do this anymore for another month or 2. Is that right?
Oh no, I'm making seasons by basically, like, seasons. What I mean by seasons is like every couple episodes after that we'll make just a collaboration of all the episodes. I'm calling it season so I just don't say like, so I don't have to put like episode 1 through 5.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, so I'm just
So after this one, it'll be season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, for
go forward from there.
1, and then
We'll have to rename those on the YouTube channel, I guess. Or we could just keep going forward and we'll just have the next one be episode 6. There's a thought. We just keep going until we run out of numbers.
Yes.
So, what did you want to talk about here at the end of our season,
so
episode
at the end of the episode, since I always go first with reading stuff, let's have you go first. What is your SCP that you made? What's its designation?
I don't know the designations. I don't even know what an SPC is.
SCP.
I don't know what an SCP is.
I've given him a week to prepare this.
And so I don't exactly know what I'm supposed to be preparing here.
You just basically create your own monster and its own abilities and its own lore and stuff behind it.
And I didn't do any of that. What I created was my own idea that every time you get into an elevator and the doors close, and then when they open and you step out, you've actually created an alternate timeline. And some of the timelines are good, some of them are bad, but you don't know. But whenever you get into a small box like that, and the doors close, and you move up or down, and then the doors open, and you step out, you've actually created an alternate timeline for yourself. And some of the things that could have happened in the other timeline could have been good, they could have been bad. But they're different.
You could go in there and have escaped people shooting you stuff.
I kind of based mine on this episode of Community, which, as you know, you have watched, I think, every season of Community multiple times now. But this is the Community episode about the darkest. Is it the darkest timeline where they would roll a 20-sided die, and then that would create a new alternate reality.
There was actually 21 realities where the dice didn't. They didn't throw the dice. So there's 21 realities.
And so and I don't know why elevators specifically, other than I almost got stuck in an elevator this week, and it really kind of freaked me out a little bit.
You almost got stuck in an elevator?
Yeah, it totally wouldn't open, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm stuck in this elevator. It won't open. There's only one other person in here with me, and I don't think, even if I ate them, that I could live in the elevator all that long.
I mean, okay, I'm going to say this. Human nutrients, that would last you a while. His entire body, if he was 6 foot, it would probably last you maybe like 2 weeks.
Right, and so what if I'm in there for longer than 2 weeks? Then what happens, right?
Well, then I mean, your body can go like, I'm pretty sure, like a couple of days without food, so you'd still have a couple of days left then. And even then, you probably still could, you probably still have blood to drink, which would give you food.
So,
go give you water.
It's being trapped in a small space in an elevator when it just stops and you don't know what's going to happen next. It kind of freaked me out, I think, a little bit. And so ever since then, I've had a couple of dreams about getting stuck in elevators and in small spaces. I'm a little claustrophobic.
I've had dreams about my entire family turning into demons and trying to kill me.
So that's probably what your SPC is.
No.
SCP. S whatever. Why don't you tell us what your monster is that you've created?
Well, I've created multiple ones. I'm just going to go with what I think is the best. Designation SCP-1. This SCP can turn into anything it sees, into anything that its victim sees. So say its victim sees a rock, or say its victim sees another human.
I have a quick question. What does SCP stand for? Because I don't know, and some of my listeners
Secure, Contain, Protect.
Okay, and it's like it's basically a monster.
SCP, and the SCP Foundation is a foundation that takes in monsters and basically keeps them in a container, feeds them, learns about them, so humans can end up fighting them if it gets loose.
Okay.
Well, if they can't fight them, they'll keep them in there forever.
So I interrupted you. Sorry about that. Carry on.
Okay. So basically, SCP-1. Say its victim sees another another alien, another human. The SCP can turn into that thing and use that thing's powers and what the thing is good for to kill its victim, but it can only kill victims that have seen the thing the monster is now taking the form as. So this monster is -1. It's the only negative SCP that we know of, because this SCP has all been all the way back before Earth existed, before the Big Bang and stuff. And it was on an out planet, and basically what it did was it would take over forms of aliens and then kill other aliens for food. And then when it saw like the Big Bang happen, it was very far away, so it started floating over to them, and it could basically turn into something giant, so it can kind of start eating itself, basically, so it can sustain itself and then get there. And when it gets there, it sees a meteor, so it uses that to speed up, and it can't slow down. And then the meteor that it's taking form as, eventually all dinosaurs see the meteor, and then the meteor hits or kills all the dinosaurs. And so basically the meteor that killed all the dinosaurs is this SCP. The SCP roamed the earth, killing cavemen and other people like that. And then it eventually was found because it tried to kill because it took the form of SCP, one of the SCPs that is called Shy Guy. And saw that. And it basically was in a giant Shy Guy vs. Shy Guy fight, and each of them were contained. And then it turned back into its normal SCP shape, which is basically just a glob of everything it has killed.
Huh.
And it just stayed there, and it just stayed in the containment, and it was like nice. So basically, you could go in there, you could talk to it, and it would talk back to you. It would help you sometimes, and it wouldn't kill its owners. It wouldn't kill people in the SCP. It would only kill people that tried to kill it. And when it killed someone, it was always an accident, like them getting too close, accidentally touching it, which would be kind of like the gelatinate, the cube thing. What's it called from D&D? It's like a thing that like touch it, like you like. Never mind. But basically, if you touch it, you would immediately die and be sucked into its jello-shaped kind of body, and it would only kill people by accident by then, and it would basically just save people. And the only time it killed someone without it being an accident was someone that insulted one of the other SCPs.
That's interesting. So your monster that you've created there has a strong element of mimicry, it sounds like. Do you know what mimicry is? Do you know what that term means? And that's an actual, there's a lot of things.
Taskmaster will be like?
Well,
Mimic! I use mimic!
Again, for a guy who doesn't like comic books, that's another comic book reference, but...
Well, I mean, he also was in this new Black Widow movie that, if I see any comments about Black Widow movie...
No spoilers.
Today, no spoilers. Like, yeah, you can spoil it tomorrow, but I will be watching it today, and I don't want to get a notification with the spoiler of the end of the movie. Okay?
So
heal me!
So mimicry is like in nature, it's like an evolutionary biology thing, and a good example of it would be, how some butterflies, their wings.
That's real coming from a not smart guy.
You know how butterflies, their wings have patterns on them, and sometimes when they land, it looks like a pair of eyes.
Yeah, it's like,
that's to keep predators from trying to eat the butterflies. They think it's a larger, maybe a bigger animal, like maybe one of the cats or something. But
yeah, one of our cats that'll very spooky.
And so the butterflies, they mimic another creature with the patterns on their wings, and that's a safety. It's like a safety thing to help them survive and avoid predators.
Safety. I'm someone else. Yeah.
And so your monster that you've created there sounds like he's basically a mimic. Like he sees another creature, and then he's able to take on that creature's sort of form and powers, and that's how he evolves and advances. Is that right? Was that the inspiration for your creature that you created?
Oh, when you were looking through the book of monsters to get your inspiration, I literally just made it up on the fly then.
Huh.
I didn't do any work at all. I just made it up on the fly, but it did turn out pretty good.
Okay. So, just for future reference, when you're in school, when that starts back up or whatever, and, your teacher reads something that you write and sees a lot more meaning in it than maybe you put into it and compliments you and says, wow, is this what you were thinking?
I'm just going to say
yes.
No.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. You figured it out. Good job. And don't say, no, I just put it together on the fly.
No, if any of my teachers think I put more meaning into something than I did, I'm just going to literally make them look stupid, because it's like teachers like, oh, what does this mean? What did he mean by the curtains were blue? What did he mean by that? They didn't mean anything. They were just saying that the curtains were blue.
Wow.
They didn't mean anything.
Wow.
Nothing was meant.
You're kind of a nihilist, aren't you? There's just no meaning in anything.
I'm an agent of chaos.
That sounds like maybe.
I just like to see the world burn. I'm one of those men who like to see the world burn.
Sounds like you're a fan of the Joker and the Dark Knight movies. Again,
yes.
Third comic book reference from you during this podcast, in which you started out saying you were not a comic book guy.
Okay, 1 second. I don't care what anyone says. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker was better than Jack Nicholson's.
Gotcha.
I don't care what people say.
Well, I think they're two different styles. So that's the end of our 5th episode, I guess. Any last words? Anything that you want to say? What have we learned here along the way so far about unexplained and unexplainable events and creatures? What do you think? What do you hope the audience has learned?
I think that we have all learned, if you see demons, run. Don't try to fight anything. Just try to run from everything. Run away from your issues. Don't confront them, and stay scared.
I think if you see demons, you probably need to get your medication increased
or
decreased, depending on the medication you're taking.
If you see the crack cocaine demon, you don't wanna keep being on your medical drugs.
Well, that's enough about your uncle. So
what?
I guess we should sign off here.
Yeah, but after this minute, you're gonna have to tell me, is he actually?
No. All right. So,
okay.
Thanks for listening. And why don't you take us out here? Let's give us our
Thanks out. This has been Dean, my friend / father B. We have been guiding you through your journey of the unexplained and the unexplainable. This is the last episode of the season. Have a good day. This may be a double upload if we can put all videos together. And see you on the next week episodes.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe.
Don't have to say that every time. Just don't have to say it.
Okay, bye.